Hey, it's Lawrence here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your hit business and fueling your passion for high intensity training. So why is client retention the single most powerful thing that you can focus on if you want to make your strength training studio profitable fast? And what's the right way to do it? In today's podcast, Discover Strength CEO and founder Luke Carlson returns to the show to talk about the key fundamentals that you need to know regarding retention, including why client retention is crucial to building a profitable business, how to create an experience that helps keep clients coming back, and the key things you need to put in place and the mistakes you need to avoid, and so much more. This is a masterclass from our private paid community. And if you like this kind of thing, then you should join our new high intensity business community on School, the SKOOL. So that's the cool version of School. It's a platform that we moved to that I am very passionate about. And when you join our community, you will get one-on-one chat-based coaching with me. You'll get simple one-page guides on how to grow your business, masterminds of hit business owners, live masterclasses, and like this one you're about to consume today with experts to overcome obstacles. We also recently did one with Dr. Doug McGuff where you can ask questions. Hundreds of templates, tools, and systems and SOPs that you can literally copy and paste into your business. Forum community, iOS and Android apps, so it's easy to access the membership wherever device you're on, and so much more. And my promise to you and our guarantee is that you will get 10 new membership clients or have 10% growth, whichever is higher, in your first 30 days, or I will work with you for free until you do. That's my promise, and that's the confidence I have in the product. We recently moved our membership and private community to School because I really believe in the mission behind the product. I think that the builders are building something, or the entrepreneurs behind it are building something that is really optimized for the user experience and is really trying to build the best platform for communities. So I think building on School or moving our community to School is a huge step forward in helping more hit business owners start and grow successful businesses where they can transform more lives with safe, high intensity training. And this is the topic that gets thrown around all the time. Why aren't more people doing resistance training or high intensity training? How do we go about getting more people doing it? Well, one way of doing it is getting a lot better at business and getting a lot better at persuading and retaining people in their training, right? Persuading people to start training and then, having good approaches to things like retention that we're going to explore today in this masterclass or podcast, and retain clients over the long term so they can get great results and tell their friends about it too, to convince more people to do this life-changing stuff. So if you're interested in joining our community, please go to highintensitybusiness.com/school. That's School, SKOOL. So highintensitybusiness.com/school. And without any further ado, please enjoy How to Retain Clients for Life with Luke Carlson. All right, so welcome everyone to the November 2021 Hit Business Membership content with Luke Carlson from Discover Strength. Luke Carlson is CEO of Discover Strength. And we do this every single month. We normally alternate between business and personal training. Previous guests include Dr. Doug McGuff. Obviously, Luke has contributed tons of really valuable content. Jeff Tomaszewski, John Little, Bill DeSimone, Hannah Johnson, who's also from Discover Strength, Blair Wilson, and many others. So we get the top experts in high intensity training in strength training business to contribute great content to this platform. Luke, thank you so much for taking the time today to do this. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Lawrence.
So today, obviously, we're focused on retention. You and I have spoken about retention before. The title of this presentation is How to Retain Clients for Life, which might be a little bit hyperbolic, but I thought it would inspire people. And I think what I'm excited about is just hearing your latest thoughts on, mindset principles around retention, and then what actually works and what's superfluous, what's redundant. But I know you've already got some talking points planned. So without any further ado, I'll let you go and I'll chime in with questions as we go. But where do you want to start?
Yeah, so I absolutely appreciate your questions because I think it's probably more appropriate or valuable for you to interrupt me when we're in the content that you think, hey, this is the time that I would love to go deeper on this, or I have some follow-up on this. So I'm inspired by Horst Schulze, who is the founder and longtime president of the modern Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. He is not the current president of the Ritz-Carlton. He retired a number of years ago. But Horst Schulze is famous for saying there's only 4 elements of building a profitable business. And as soon as a speaker says that, I perk up, I'm on the edge of my seat. And the thoughts running through my mind are, there's only 4 things. Okay, I've read, I don't know, 52 books this year on how to run a profitable business. And every one of those books seemingly had, 12 different key ideas. So how can there only be 4 things? And so I want to pay attention to what those 4 things are. So the 4 things, 4 elements of running a profitable business are: number 1, retention of the customer. And he goes on to say that the key to all of this is that you don't get the order of importance mistaken. So number 1 is retention of our customer. Number 2 is we need new customers. Number 3 is we need more revenue from existing customers. And number 4, we should try to cut or manage our expenses. And he says most companies focus on 2, 3, and 4. And when I reflect on that, I think that's true. I think most of the people that I know running all different types of businesses, and definitely in our space, people are focused on, how do I cut expenses? How do I make sure I sign a lease that's inexpensive in my studio, right? So let's just frame it up right there. Think about that. People are trying to sign an inexpensive lease for a personal training studio rather than sign a lease that retains the customer. So we make all of these decisions that are not aligned with number 1. Number 1 is retain the customer. Now, I think one of the reasons why we don't get excited about retain the customer in our space is because, we think, I need more customers. If I just retain the customers I currently have, that's not enough. I need more customers. And I think that if you've been in business long enough, there's going to be enough customers over time. You're just losing customers at the backside. And if you can retain those customers, you actually don't need to acquire very many customers. And kind of our academic foundation of all of this, Lawrence, before we go too deep into it, is that it's so much less expensive. And there's all these different figures that are thrown out around this. It's so much less expensive to retain a customer than it is to acquire a new customer. So I think foundationally, you have to believe, your philosophy has to be that retention is everything. It is the whole business. And so at Discover Strength, we use EOS or traction, and so many of your listeners will be familiar with that. There's a concept of key roles. So every employee, every seat on an accountability chart or an organizational structure should have key roles. And so we recently, literally within the last 1 month, changed the order of our key roles for our personal trainer. We had retention as a key role, but it was listed as the 5th of their key roles. So now we changed it so it is their first key role, because I want to be able to go to any one of our personal trainers and says, what is job number 1? What is your most important focus? What is your most important key role? They need to have absolute clarity around that. It's retain the customer. It is retain the customer. That's what we're trying to do. So that's our starting point. If you want to build a profitable business in any business, I don't care if it's hotels or if it's high intensity personal training, you have to be obsessed with client retention. Now let's spend the next, 50 minutes, or Lawrence, however long you want to spend, talking about how do we do that? How do we measure that? What are the different categories? But if that doesn't get you excited, and if you don't believe philosophically that's important, I'm not going to say, well, you're going to struggle. I'm going to say you got to find a way to convince yourself. You have to intellectually get there where you think this is the most important thing. So we start with that. Now, the next key question is, well, what leads to client retention? What leads to customer retention? So what a fascinating question. I think the first answer is everything you do leads to client retention. So we have meetings on this, and we do this meeting every couple of years when we bring in our team of leaders and managers, and we start talking about how do we retain more clients. You find out pretty quickly, and this is true in any business, that everything we do contributes to client retention. So we start to try to understand, well, what are the key elements of our experience that we want to make sure don't fade away, that are appropriately highlighted? What are the friction points that we think we should minimize? So I want to talk through what that looks like. Now, Horst Schulze at the Ritz-Carlton would say, the first thing that your customer wants is they want no defects. All right. So whatever you're selling, it has to work. If you buy a bottle of water, the bottle of water has to function. If it has a hole in it and water is leaking out the side, you have a defect, you're going to be in trouble. So what's a defect for us? It's if you start a workout late, or you scheduled a client at a particular time and the trainer is not there. It's if they think they can call to schedule a workout with you, but nobody ever answers the phone. So it's we could come up with 200 different defects. So you have to eliminate defects first, says Horst Schulze. And I agree with that. Number two is there has to be an appropriate level of urgency or speed for the customer. And he talks about in the hotel companies, 15 years ago, if you waited in line for 4 minutes or less before the customer checked in, they were happy. Now that duration has dropped to 30 seconds. So how fast we expect things, man, it is that time window is really shortening. It's speeding up. We want things immediately. That's number two, is speed. And number three is you can call it service or you can call it hospitality. We want someone to be nice to us, is number three. That's it, those three things. And interestingly enough, if we fail on number one and number two, and we're really, really good at number three, or we pay attention to number three, the customer will always forgive us. If you buy a brand new expensive car and you drive it off the lot and it breaks down 2 blocks away and you get it towed back to the lot and they treat you incredibly well, you will forgive them. This is true in every business. There's actually data points to suggest that a customer loves your business more if you make a mistake, if there is a defect and you handle it incredibly well. So that's the third component, the hospitality, the service, as Horst Schulze would say, just be nice to me. And of course, I think it's more than being nice to me, but it's, am I going to solve your problem? Am I going to come to your side of the table and be on your side, which is truly the mark of hospitality, instead of company versus customer. The company comes around the other side of the table and is on the same side of the table as the customer. That's service. That's hospitality. Okay. So the starting point for us is measurement. All right. So we're going to talk about how do we actually do it, but we have to talk about measurement. Now, this is the tough part. And maybe the controversial statement. Nobody in our industry has any idea if they're good at client retention. Okay. In the high intensity training space, we're just not very sophisticated at tracking this, and we don't have consistent ways of tracking it so that we're all speaking the same language. On our scorecard alone, we have multiple different retention numbers, and I can share ours with you, and I'm going to share ours with you, but please remember, these are just ours. They're only meaningful because we can compare them to last quarter, all right? And the quarter before that, and the previous year, and the previous year, and the previous quarter of a previous year. So I think one of the barriers to tracking this is you think, well, I don't have enough data points. I just want to improve my retention right now. It's hard to think that, well, if I start it now, it's not going to become valuable for a quarter, at least, or multiple years. You got to start now. So anytime we make a change like this, it's painful in our own business because I think, well, this is not going to become valuable for us for a long time. So still do it. Start tracking it, come up with what your metric's going to be. So there's a difference between client retention and attrition. Retention is how long someone stays. Attrition is when someone actually leaves. I don't think we need to get caught up in that actual intellectual debate. Just decide how you're going to measure it. We measure two different things. We measure in a given year, if you're a client on January 1st, or if we add you as a client throughout the year, which of course is going to happen, at the end of the year, are you still a client? What percentage of our clients on January 1st or clients added after that are still a client by the end of the year? So now the next question related to that is what's defined as a client? Now, this only really works well, in my opinion, if you're using an auto pay format. So if you're selling packages, that's the first thing you should do. You should probably log out of this webinar and change over to an auto pay, because if you sell a package and I bought 20 workouts from you or 30 workouts from you and you get this cash up front, well, when do I count you as retained or unretained? What if you do 10 workouts in 5 weeks, 2 workouts a week, and then I don't see you for 2 weeks? Are you unretained at that point? But then you come back in, are you retained again? Okay. Then I don't see you for 1 week. And then you do, again, 5 weeks of 10 total workouts. And then you travel for 1 month. Are you unretained during that 1 month? So over the course of the year, how valuable, how much revenue is actually coming from this client. So when there's auto pay involved, you can simply say, is there an active auto pay on this person? Do they have a membership to my facility? And membership for us means you're on an auto pay and you're training 4 times or 6 times or 8 times in a month. So that means you're training sometime somewhere between 1 and 2 times in a week. So I think you got to use auto pay. If you don't use auto pay, then there's a lot of manual tracking. So the manual tracking would be you coming up with a number, right? If you have not been in this facility for 1 month, we count you as unretained. Before we did auto pay, we called you unretained if you had not taken a workout with us for 14 days. You were unretained because, I mean, you're just not working out with us. We can't call you an active customer. So we would always call it an active client, or you have an active auto pay. Now, that's one retention metric we have. On January 1st, are you with us through the end of the year? So right now we're at 77.8% here. As every listener can probably figure out, we're in 4th quarter right now of the year. So that retention percentage gets worse throughout the year, right? So on January 2nd, we're going to be 100%. By January 15th, maybe we've lost a customer or two. So the percentage always looks good, and then it gets worse. This goes back to that point of this is meaningful to you and your previous data. If you send me an email in February and say, I'm at 94% right now, is that good? My answer is, we have no idea. This is only meaningful if you have previous data points. So it's going to slowly get worse throughout. So we're at 77.8%. The best retention we've done in company history is 73%. Our goal this year is 74%. David can tell you, us being at 77.8%, are we on track to reach our goal of 74% by December 31st? Because we can look at previous 4th quarters. What was the percentage during this week of the quarter? Now, I'll just pause there for a second. Lawrence, do I need to go deeper on that, or actually less deep on that? Did I make that simple enough?
I think you made that incredibly clear.
I'm thinking about listening to your podcast with James Steele, which was fascinating. But there's even other clarification throughout because I was lost throughout.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I re-listened to that in the car, and then I was like, it clicked for me. So for anyone who's interested, I think it's episode 340 with James Steele about exercise science. Let's just say that. And I then text him all caps, I get it. Like, I finally get it. And yeah, I have to, unfortunately, act the fool during. So no, that was great. I thought that was really clear. And yeah, I mean, just one clarification. So that percentage you just gave, you're tracking that every single week in the scorecard, aren't you, through the EOS system?
Yeah, great point. But every week we look at what it is.
Yep.
And I'll mention this. So if it's okay, I'll get into our second retention number. Our second number is how many clients get through their first 22 sessions. So we think that we have to measure kind of their long-term retention. And by long-term, it's really just a year. And then we have to understand, are people getting through 22 workouts? Now, for us, we thought 22 workouts was somehow meaningful. We saw some data. We did some customer experience research, some user X research, where we understood that if someone got through 22 workouts with us, we were probably going to retain them for the next 7 years. But we were losing people at 9 workouts or 15 workouts. And so we said, what can we do during these first 22 workouts to position this client to be a client for life? And so we wanted to measure what's our percentage through 22. And instead of just putting it as a percentage, we now change both of these. So I just gave you the percentage, 77.8%. There's a percentage for the first 22, but we also list it as a number. And I got this from, he'd been a guest with you before, Dr. Paul Bedford. And the idea here is when I tell you our retention is 77.8%, and that means we're only not retaining, a little over 21% of our customers. That sounds pretty good. Then when you put a number to that, it sounds embarrassingly bad. I mean, for us, it's in the hundreds of clients. And so in a meeting, I will often say, we say it's green, we say on track. I'll say something every once in a while like, yeah, that's on track. Reminder, we had 312 people that came into one of our studios and said, I want to spend good money to work out with you guys. And then eventually said, you guys are not getting the job done. I don't want to spend money here anymore. I don't want to work out with you anymore. And we got broken up with 300 times or 122 times or whatever that number is. But it is a big number. You want to look at the number, not just the percentage. And that sounds silly because what do we normally say? We say, well, don't just treat the customer like a number. I actually think treating the customer like a number is more meaningful here than just like a percentage. Okay, a percentage feels like it dehumanizes or is less personal. When we look at the number, every one of those is a client that says, I don't want to work out with you. So those are two key metrics that we use. You can make up whatever metric you want. Now, be careful when you talk to colleagues about this, because colleagues are going to say our retention's great. We basically hang on to everybody. And then the first thing they're going to say is, I've had clients that have been with me for 12 years. And the answer is, yeah, of course you have. We've all had clients that have been with us for 12 years. But how many of your clients actually make it to 22 workouts? How many of your clients make it to 6 months or 1 year or 3 years? Now, philosophically, I think a next key point is you want to position your business so that client that leaves can come back. So one phrase that my previous business partner used to say, we say it all the time now, but he deserves the credit for it, is all roads lead to Discover Strength. And that is not an arrogant statement, but when someone leaves us, okay, they tell us no. We say this in the sales process also. When someone says no, no doesn't mean no, it means not right now, right? And so if someone leaves Discover Strength, we are okay with them leaving us. We just want to make sure we're laying a foundation so that they can come back, because all roads lead to Discover Strength. And again, this is not hubris or arrogance, but when someone leaves, I think to myself, I want to look at them. You're going to come back, whether it's 2 months from now or 6 months from now or 5 years from now, you are coming back. So let's walk through a couple ideas and what do we need to do to make sure someone comes back? Well, number one, is to make it very easy for them to leave. So if you want to improve your customer retention, make it easy for people to leave. For our auto pay, there is no contract. Okay, you sign it, you're up with our auto pay. You can quit 1 week later or 2 weeks later for no reason at any time, right? If you don't use your workouts and you want a refund, we're going to refund you, right? We don't want to have any friction points. We don't want you upset with us, with the brand at all, where you think I had a bad experience there. Or if you try to leave, you're not going to have a sit down meeting with me or any of our managers where we try to overcome objections and try to keep you as a customer. We want it to be easy to join. We want it to be very easy to leave. And then after you leave, because it's so easy, they're going to say, well, that was frictionless. I can go back any point, because if I do go back and decide I want to leave again, it would be pretty easy for me to actually leave. So we don't want we don't want to try to increase switching costs, right? Which of course is what happens in so many different business models or technology models, which makes sense for those models. It does not make sense for our business, in my opinion. So we want it to be very easy to leave, so someone's encouraged to come back, because they will come back to you. So again, this is philosophy. Net promoter system or net promoter score is the idea when you ask a customer, on the scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to refer a friend or family member to us? If you're a 9 or a 10, you're a promoter. If you're a 7 or 8, you're neutral. If you're 6 or below, you're actually a detractor. And this is the number one predictor of profitable growth of an organization. It was developed by Bain. Right now, over half of the Fortune 1000 companies use Net Promoter Score. It is the best way to understand, will my company be profitable over the long haul? And so when we think about this, this is all about customer loyalty. That's what Net Promoter Score is. We want loyalty of checkbook, but first and foremost, we want loyalty of heart. We want the customer to be in love with our brand, with our service, with our people, with what we actually do. So even if someone's not spending money with you and you shot them a Net Promoter survey, which you're generally not going to do, would they still call you a 10? Okay. We find out all the time. Every time someone leaves us and they break up with us, that's the terminology I use. I think we let them down, because clearly we did let them down. Otherwise they'd be with us. We're not producing enough value for them to decide to be with us. And I always think, what do we do? What was wrong with the workout? What do we miss? Where was the service experience not spot on? And we'll do different phone calls and get in contact with them in different ways. And usually when I do that phone call, they just rave about how much they love us. They go on and on about how much they love us and we didn't do anything wrong and on and on. And by the way, I don't always listen to that, because if we did everything right, they'd still be a customer. So we must have done something wrong if they needed a break or if they wanted to try something else or money was tight. Man, if we were really good, that's just how I'm wired, right? And I think everybody that's listening to this is wired that way also. But what you find out is, oh, this customer actually still loves us, which means if things change a little bit in their life or in the environment, they're going to come back as a customer. You want your customers that leave you to still love you because they're going to come back. So where's all this going? A massive percentage of your future customers are just your unretained customers that decide to come back to you. So I think that is the most intelligent customer retention strategy. It's the most important marketing strategy, is marketing to previous customers. We have a deal going on right now. Of course, I'm in the US. We just had Thanksgiving yesterday. So today is Friday after Thanksgiving. It's called Black Friday. Where does Black Friday come from? Because every major retailer goes into the black for the first time in the calendar year on the Friday after Thanksgiving, because everybody buys. I mean, it's just a day of consumerism. People generally don't work and they spend money, and that's major sales day for retailers. There's also Small Business Saturday, which is, of course, the day after, and then there's Cyber Monday. So for us, we're doing a massive campaign for alumni clients on Friday and Saturday. Discover Strength, we will never offer a discount to a new customer. We're never going to do a promotion that said, hey, on Black Friday or Small Business Saturday, if you become a customer, you'll get 10% off or 25% off or anything like that. But we will offer a discount to a previous customer. So we have a reactive retention. So reactive means the customer's already gone. They've been gone for 6 months up to, in some cases, 12 years in this case. We're doing a campaign where if they come back if they buy on Friday or Saturday, okay, so today or tomorrow, so it's Black Friday or Small Business Saturday, they're going to get 25% off. Well, this campaign is a massive campaign because we have a lot of retained clients over the last 15 years, right? This is going to go out to over 2,000 people. Well, that's the smartest marketing campaign. We have a list of 2,000 people that previously trained with Discover Strength that probably live around here, one of our studios that we can market to. So this is the first time.
Just to be clear, is that 25% of the first month or 25% ongoing?
Just the first month.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yep. And so 25% is a big percentage, but when it's on just 1 month, it's not that big of a sale, right? So the percentage is not what's magical. The percentage combined by how long is it, is it 10% over 6 months of auto pay? That's a pretty big discount, right? 25% over 1 month, if you're just training once a week, is just one free workout. If you're training twice a week, it's essentially 2 free workouts. So where I was going with this, and the reason I brought that up, and it sounds like marketing, and it is maybe marketing, I think it's truly retention, is it's understand that your unretained customers are going to be a great source of new business for you down the road. So when someone leaves, remember, all roads lead to your business. You want to make sure they leave in a way where they feel very, very comfortable coming back. And I'm telling you, okay, this is my favorite conversation I have every single week, as Hannah says, hey, you won't believe who just came in for a workout again today. And I say, who? And she tells me, and I say, you're kidding me. That was the last person I thought would ever come back. I literally thought they hated us. You're kidding. Yeah, they've been back for 5 workouts. I don't even believe it, right? So all roads lead to, whatever your studio is, your facility is. But you have to think about that. What are we doing when someone leaves? So that we're positioning ourselves in a way where they still love us. They're not spending money with us, but they still love our brand. So now let's get into, we talked a little bit about measurement. For us, it's measuring the first year. It's measuring the first 22 sessions, right? And then we talked about how when someone leaves, you got to position yourself so that they can actually come back. So now let's talk about proactive retention. So proactive retention is, what are you doing day in and day out so that someone doesn't leave you, so that they stay with you? And this conversation, everything I'm going to share is germane to high intensity strength training businesses. It just doesn't work for health clubs. In the health club world, you want to make sure a person comes a certain number of visits. There's health club data that if you come 4 times in a month for your first 6 months, you're probably going to be retained for the long haul, right? Or as soon as you drop below an average of 4 visits per month, that's a big red flag. Why? Because if you're not using the gym, you're probably not going to keep your membership to the gym. Well, that doesn't really apply to us, right? Like you got to come in because like we're one-on-one training workouts, right? That's what we do. Now, the other thing in the health club world is they'll say, well, you need a certain number of contact points, right? How could you like greet somebody, but not just greet them, approach them and ask them how their workout's going, or when they leave, say things like, when are we going to see you again, rather than have a good day. All of these subtle different things, get someone to talk to somebody. I have a health club membership here in Minnesota, a huge, beautiful health club. And I understand all of this. It makes sense. When I go to that health club, no one talks to me. No one says my name. I check in, I hand them my card, and they don't like, my name pops up on a screen. They don't say, good morning, Luke, or welcome, Luke, or have a good workout, Luke. And usually I'm not working out. And by usually, I mean, I'm never working out. I'm going to read it by the pool right outside, or I'm going to go grab a smoothie and leave right away. And they don't say anything to me at all. I have no relationship with anybody in that health club. So what that health club would want to do if they want to retain me is they would try to have some touch points where they're talking to me. Everyone on this call is thinking, Luke, who cares? We get it. Our whole workout's a touch point, right? We're talking with the customer the entire time. So that's already built into what we do, which, side note, that's why our business is conducive to great client retention over a health club. Man, if you want to look at a business model that's built around Horst Schulze's idea of retention, it is our business model. All right. Now, let me also say this. The creator of the Net Promoter System and Net Promoter Score, Rob Markey, at Bain. Bain's the big consulting firm based in Boston, multi-billion-dollar company. He says my whole investment strategy, not mine, not Luke's, his investment strategy is he invests in companies early on that have high net promoter scores. And he said, hey, Tesla, net promoter score is off the charts. I bought stock in Tesla very early on. And by the way, we've battled with Tesla for number one net promoter score in the world. It's back and forth with Tesla. And so when I heard that, I thought, wow, this guy might want to invest in our company because our net promoter score is consistently right up there with Tesla. I mean, Tesla's ahead of us some weeks and we're ahead of them some weeks. So that net promoter score is a pretty good sign of how valuable your firm is. Would someone want to invest in your firm? And this sounds like I'm going on a tangent, but it's worth noting that your firm becomes more valuable if you can retain your customers, right? If you were going to be acquired by private equity, or if you were going to sell your company, at all times, if you own the business, your job is to make the business more valuable, not because you want to sell it, but because you want to own a valuable business. And if you wanted to sell it, or if you wanted to exit, or if you were going to be acquired, you want it to be more valuable. The most important thing you could to make it more valuable is improve your customer loyalty measured by Net Promoter Score. And so how do you do that? Well, it's everything we're really about to talk about here. It's understanding the actual client retention. So I think that's fascinating as well. You would invest in a company based on what their Net Promoter Score is or what their actual retention is. So to that point, the third thing I think we should track is Net Promoter Score. So we have, for us, the first 22, we have the 1 year, and then we have what's the Net Promoter Score. And the key to the Net Promoter Score is not that you're just getting a number, but you're getting a data point. So Lawrence, you would say, hey, you're a 9. And then there's a question, what could we do to improve this? Or why did you give us this number? Just one question, not more than one question. So many companies have changed it to 10 questions, and that's too much. So one question, then whatever someone writes there, take action on it. If someone gives you anything below a 7, call them. So we're calling customers every day saying, hey, you gave us a 7. We're not saying, can you give us a 10 next time? We're saying, let's talk through how we can serve you better. And then we're learning from those. And a lot of times we're making just small iterative changes with that customer. Like they tell us, I don't feel like I get pushed hard enough. Or sometimes I get pushed really hard and other times I don't get pushed hard. Or the facility is not clean enough or whatever it is, right? So we want to listen and make iterative changes, or sometimes we want to listen and understand, are there some big changes we need to make to our entire process, to how we operate as a business? A great example here is 3 uniques. If the comments people are giving you, okay, the positive feedback they're giving you, if it's not related to the 3 uniques of your business, again, this is traction EOS terminology, but 3 uniques, they're really not traction. 3 uniques are just the foundations of strategy. So if you're hearing feedback all the time that supports your strategy, that's a good thing. That's what you want. And then you can say, okay, our customers are finding this valuable. Let's keep doing it. So in all of our net promoter feedback, we constantly hear, I love that everything's based in the science. I love that there's a scientific study backing up everything that I'm doing. And one of our uniques is an evidence-based approach. Okay, great. That's resonating with customers. If they never mention it, that would be a problem, right? So Lawrence, I'll pause there and just see if you want to interject. And otherwise we'll get into really how do we actually do this tactically.
Yeah, no, I just love letting you go, to be honest, because you're doing such a great job. That I don't want to ruin your flow here. So yeah, just crack on with the next steps.
Okay, so I think what we want to avoid is a say-do gap. So a say-do gap is this is what you say your brand's all about. This is what you say you do. And then when you come into the business, you experience something different. So what you actually do is different. So we want to avoid the say-do gap, and we want to deliver on whatever we are marketing, wherever we're communicating around. And we want to do it on a consistent basis. Jim Collins brilliantly says, inconsistency is, and this is a paraphrase, but I'm going to get it pretty close, is the root cause of mediocrity. So whatever we do, we want to be consistent in the business, whether it's customer experience or whatever it is in the workout. So I think what you have to do as a leader of the business is you have to decide what are the key elements of our experience that we think clients love, that we want to make sure are codified and are delivered the same every single time. And you might, like I said, when we started, we said everything you do is retention. So, oh my goodness, that gets pretty stressful. So I have to do every single thing that we've ever done in the business the same every single time and make sure it's managed. Well, that's pretty tough, right? And I have to find out, what am I doing if I'm the only trainer here every single time, so that when I hire someone, all of that becomes a little bit overwhelming to me. So for us, we use a first principle approach, right? So first principles thinking is like, Aristotle, popularized by Elon Musk in, 2020 or 2021. This idea of what do we really know about a subject? How do we break this down to its component parts and understand the real root principles? And if I understand those principles, I can move forward. And so for us, we use a first principle approach to understanding our workout experience. So what I did a number of years ago is I got leaders and managers together in a boardroom, and I gave them a bunch of Post-it notes. And I said, write on a Post-it note the key elements of Discover Strength. I mean, this makes a Discover Strength workout, a Discover Strength experience special. And by special, I mean a customer would spend money on it, right? We're always trying to drive WTP. WTP is willingness to pay. So everything we do in our business is driving WTP. When you make a decision in your business, you should always ask, does this increase WTP or does it decrease WTP? I don't think we should be doing things in our business. Like when we talk about customer service, don't add customer service nuances or elements that doesn't drive WTP, right? If you're doing all these things, they're going to cost money and effort and time. And if they're not driving WTP, don't do it. All right. So we're trying to drive WTP. I asked all of our people, take a Post-it note and write one concept on the Post-it note. All right. What's actually keeping someone as a customer? What's contributing to a great workout? And then what you do is you put them horizontally on a wall. So the wall that we were in, the conference room we're in, our old corporate office was all glass. So we had, essentially what we're doing is we're creating a histogram. So we had all of the concepts across the top. But if your Post-it note, if the word that you had up there was already up there, then don't put it up there again, put it underneath that one. And then that will be a long tail eventually if you have a bunch of Post-it notes there. Then we can take a step back. And I gave everyone 8 Post-it notes. I think we had probably 10 people in there. So there's going to be 80 data points up on that wall, and we can start seeing where the long tails are. So instead of just having a conversation, we get it up on the wall and we understand, well, what does everybody in this room think contributes to this Discover Strength experience? And I keep saying Discover Strength, but the experience of your business, right? And so this is where we came up with what our first principles were. Like if this was missing, that wouldn't be a Discover Strength experience. And so I'm going to not give all 6 of ours to you because I think every business has to go through this process of discovery themselves. But for us, one of them was intensity. If the workout is not the appropriate level of intensity, we'll lose a customer. If we push them far, far, far too hard, okay, we're going to lose that customer. But if we don't push them hard enough, we're going to lose that customer. And if we don't push them hard enough, we're not going to retain the customer. And if we don't push them hard enough, they're not going to talk about the workout to somebody else. Now, I'm just going to jump ahead and say that I picked intensity here for a reason. So I think that's the number one reason in our industry that our businesses don't grow. We don't get referrals and we don't retain customers. We just don't push our clients hard enough. Okay. This is the controversial statement of the webinar. I only get to make one. That's Lawrence's rule. It is,
That's not true.
if we pushed our clients harder, we would have more clients. And so,
Can I just follow up on that? Because it's so interesting that you bring that up today, because I literally left my trainer a voice note today on exactly this. Now, I'm curious how you manage that, because let me make a guess, right? So you have a score for each workout, for each client on their workout card from 0 to 5 or 1 to 5 in terms of intensity. If someone is a 3 out of 5, when your trainers are training that person, how do they make sure they nail the intensity? Is it that they're looking to push that person as hard as possible within reason? So if they're a 3 out of 5, they're maybe looking to brush up against a 4. And maybe over time, that person becomes a 4 or maybe even a 5. Because like you told me before, the feedback you've always got is, I can be pushed harder, right? And I've noticed it in our own clients, that clients start at a 3, but once they get stronger, more confident in their body and their ability, they invariably move up to a 4 or even a 5, I've noticed. But you have to get that balance right. So how do you do that?
yeah, so we try to define each one of those numbers. So we say a 1 is always a 1 due to a medical reason, right? Like everyone should be training harder than a 1, but if you've had a heart attack recently, or you have some other underlying health issue, you're a 1, don't override the 1. You're stopping well short of failure. This is how many reps in reserve there should be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A 5 means this, anything goes. A 5 means anything goes. Like, I'm not going to scare you away by doing anything. I can pull out all of the stops. Okay. And every once in a while, we'll write 5 for upper body and 4 for legs. So the average pretty darn intense male is like a 5 for upper body and a 4 for legs, because anything goes for their legs. They might not want to come back, right? Not many males, this is a stereotype, but it's true, want to train their legs that hard on a regular basis. Now, females have no problem, but females overall train much harder than males do. So, and then we'll say like, well, what is a 4? How many 4 reps? What are you doing in terms of advanced overload techniques for a 4 versus a 3? So we have all of these specific guidelines, but then I always say, don't be handcuffed by that. It's got to be feel, right? If 5 is anything goes and 1 is nowhere near muscle failure, all right? 3 is they're going to muscle failure and probably doing 1 to 3 assisted reps or forced reps. From there, you can kind of feel what a 4 is. And then at every progress assessment workout, so after you do 10 workouts with us, we're going to do a progress assessment workout, and we ask just a couple questions. One of the questions is, are we pushing you appropriately hard? And when I ask that question, we always say, do you feel like we should be pushing you a little bit harder? Or do you feel like, my goodness, I'm fearing my workouts, I'm getting pushed too hard? Or do you feel like we should keep it right where it is? And if the customer says, I really trust you guys, I think you guys are nailing it, that's exactly what we want to hear, right? Now, if every time a customer's saying, you're pushing me way too hard, or you're not pushing me near hard enough, we can listen to that and we can change, but that would be a sign that we're not good at reading the appropriate intensity. We should hear the answer to that question. The vast majority of the time is keep it exactly where it is. And when they say that, I think inside, hell yes, we're nailing it. Because we call this, okay, this is, to us, it's a 6 first principle. It's called intensity. We call it the it factor. The it factor is, can you get inside another human and have the empathy and understand exactly how hard they need to be pushed? Not just in the workout in totality, but from exercise to exercise to exercise. When you feel like your trainer is inside of you, understanding, what are you experiencing on calf? What are you experiencing on the end of this set of leg press? What are you experiencing on this set of chest press? It's a moment to moment feel. And why do we call it the it factor? Because I had a client that's been a client for literally 14 years who started training at our Woodbury location and trained with our general manager there, Jake Key. She sent me a long email about how much she loves training with them. And she always says, a lot of clients say things like this, I love all your trainers, but Jake, he's got the it factor. Whatever it is, he has it. He knows exactly how hard to push me. So instead of calling it the JP factor, we call it the it factor, but it's just intensity, right? But intensity doesn't just mean push someone harder, or it doesn't just mean like, this is not a scientific definition of intensity. Are we getting the momentary muscle failure? It's, can you read the appropriate level of intensity for the client? So that's one of our 6 first principles. I'm going to give you another one is safety. If people are getting injured during our workouts, or if there's a perception that this is not good for my body, then we're not going to retain the customer, right? Now, this is the definition of a first principle. You can't argue against it. So if you tell me, no, you can get injured and your business is going to just grow just fine, you're going to retain customers. No, you can't imagine a scenario at Discover Strength where people are getting injured and our business continues to grow. And so we feel the same about intensity. I just can't imagine a scenario where we continue to grow and effectively differentiate from competition if we're not pushing people hard. So those are 2 of our 6 first principles. Now, why is it important to have these 6 first principles? Because then you can tell your managers and you can tell your trainers, delivering a workout at Discover Strength is just delivering these 6 things. So you don't have to memorize body by science. My goodness, we would never, have people read and study and memorize body by science and say, deliver that. And we would never have them read and study the super slow technical manual and say, do that, which by the way, we read both of those books, right? That's not how we deliver workouts. And we can't memorize everything in those books. And we don't know how everything in those books contributes to client retention. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if they do the 6 first principles, we're going to retain customers. And if one location is growing faster than another location, it is largely, and when I say largely, I mean, it is almost predominantly because the staff of that location is executing the 6 first principles. Now, we may summarize that. Our shorthand might be, are we delivering great Discover Strength experiences? But we really mean, are they delivering the 6 first principles? Now, let me mention, I said I'm not going to mention them all. I got to mention one more. One of them is what we call the signature 6. And I know this is confusing and it's probably even confusing to our staff. One of our 6 first principles is called the signature 6. Okay. We overused the number 6. It was my high school football number. That's not why we overuse it, but that 6 things that we want a customer to experience every time they come in from a customer experience standpoint. So we have a whole service excellence plan, like how Discover Strength does customer service, right? But among that whole plan, there's what we actually do every day on the floor, and that's called the signature 6. So we've talked about some of these in the past, Florence, but one of them is a warm welcome and a fond farewell. One of them is a professional greeting, which means if I haven't met you in the facility, I need to smile, aim my smile, introduce myself first, shake hands like I mean it, and proceed with the conversation. So yesterday was Thanksgiving. I worked at our Plymouth location on Thanksgiving, our original location. Worked with 6 one-on-one clients in the morning. We had 5 other trainers on the floor, unbelievable atmosphere Thanksgiving morning. Well, I never work in that location on Thursdays, only work in that location Sunday mornings. I'd met like 50% of the people in that location. So what did I do nonstop? When my client was getting a quick drink of water, I came up and said, I don't think we met before. I'm Luke. And you said, hey, I'm Lawrence. Nice to meet you. Happy Thanksgiving. I did that nonstop. But I don't just do that as an owner. Every trainer does that to everybody. I trained one very long-term client yesterday, and she said, hey, I want to give you some feedback. She's like, hey, new guy over here. I've been here 5-6 times recently. He's never introduced himself to me. And she knows that that's one of our 6 first principles because we've talked about it. Excuse me, it's not one of our 6 first principles. It's one of our signature 6, which is part of our 6 first principles. And so I jotted that down, and now today I can have conversations around that. So the idea of understanding what your first principles are just guides, what do I want someone to experience every time they come into the business? This is the number 1 driver of retention, is consistency of that customer experience. Now, once you figure that out, you go to other businesses and you're driven mad about the fact that the experience is inconsistent every single time that you go in there. Sometimes I'll walk into places and get a haircut or whatever the service is. I'm like, what am I going to get today? Depending on who I have, or sometimes I'm with the same person. They don't deliver the same experience. I need that consistent experience every single time. So maybe we can pause there and see if you have any pushback or follow up on any of that.
No, this is all good. I'm just aware of time. I mean, we've booked an additional 9 minutes. Do you have a hard stop, and how much do you have left to cover? Because I want to obviously make sure we get everything in that you think is really important.
Yep. So I just have one small other additional area. So I don't have a hard stop, and I can probably wrap up my key content over the next 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth saying as well that, what Luke's really focused on here is, as Luke would say, this is the stuff you can take to the bank. This is the stuff that has the highest impact. We have other resources in the membership, which I will link to from the thread for this. And this is obviously going to be recorded and you can consume it later. With links to, exactly the process for proactive retention, exactly the process example for reactive retention. It's just to elaborate on, well, not elaborate on, but just add more resources if you really want to go deep on this subject beyond what we're doing today. But this is the place to focus what Luke is discussing right now. So yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So you summarized it perfectly. I wanted to put a bow on some of this and say there has to be proactive retention, which is what we just talked about, understanding what your experience is all about and delivering that on a regular basis, right? If our intensity is not high enough, that's bad proactive retention. We're not gonna retain that customer. If we're not using those 6 first principles, we're not gonna retain the customer. So that's proactive. And then we need some reactive, which means you haven't been in the door at all. What are we doing? So for us, that means, this is all about process. If you haven't been in for 7 days, we have to have you somehow pop up in a list where we reach out to you. All right. Because you're on an auto pay with us. If you're not coming in and using those sessions are just piling up. And eventually you're going to say, I'm wasting money here. I have all these sessions and we don't expire the sessions anytime soon. You can catch up on those, but my goodness, we're a high intensity training business. We can't have you come in, 6 days in a row to catch up on those sessions. And so if you get behind on your auto pay, we know that is a lead indicator that you're either going to quit as a customer or you're going to decrease the frequency that you train. If you're training 8 times a month, but you're only coming in about once a week, you're starting to roll over sessions. We're going to decrease your frequency. And now we are losing a significant amount of revenue potential with you. And so you need to have a ping for us, it would be 7 days of who doesn't have a workout on the schedule. And then you need to contact those people and say, hey, I see you're not on the schedule. Can I help you get scheduled for this week? So at any given point in your business, your goal should be to have all of your clients have their next workout scheduled. I would argue that having the next workout on the schedule is a positive or a strong lead indicator that your retention is going to be better. So that's a reactive retention procedure. Okay. In 7 days, who do I have scheduled? Another reactive retention would be if you haven't been in to us at all in 14 days, we're going to call you, right? If you haven't been into us for 3 weeks, we're going to cancel your auto pay, right? So, and that was an example. It might not be 3 weeks. It might be 2 months for you, but at a certain period, you should proactively cancel the person's auto pay. Now, a health club would never do this because they're like, are you kidding me? We love just having the money roll in the door, but there's a name for that. And again, this was developed by Rob Marquis, who's at Bain and the founder of Net Promoter System, Net Promoter Score. He calls it bad profit. We do not want to make money on you not coming into our business. So bad profit is any annoying fee. Anytime you get pinged for something, it's when you return a rental car and the gas that they put in it costs 7 times more than a gallon of gas or fuel should cost. This is all examples of bad profits, right? Airlines are notorious for pinging you with different charges for everything, all bad profit. So I think the health club world thrives on some bad profits, right? I want to be delivering value to you, all right? And that's how we grow the business. That's how we're earning our revenue. So what I'm saying here is we cancel someone proactively. We call them and say, hey, we're canceling your membership. We haven't seen you in a while. And again, people think, well, you're nuts. If that auto pay went through just 1 more month or 2 more months, every month, it's like between $200 and $400. And if you have 1,000 customers, oh my goodness, that's a tremendous amount of money that you're saying no to. But long-term, we win over not just loyalty of checkbook, we win over loyalty of heart. All of our customers need to know they're always doing the right thing and that we're not trying to succeed via bad profit. So you need the proactive retention, you need the reactive retention steps. So let me give you an example of another reactive retention. You've now quit Discover Strength. You are not a client. You get an email ping to you, and all of this is automated that says, would you like a phone call from our CEO, right? So now if you're the owner of the business and you train all the clients yourself, this might not be very powerful because a client's like, no, I don't need to talk to you. I talked to you in every workout we had because you were the trainer. So, but for us, I've probably never met the customer ever. And I want to call that customer and learn from their experience. If they want to vent about something, I want to hear it. And I always get so nervous about these calls when they say, yes, I would like a phone call from the CEO. They fill that out online, essentially, because they get an email of it and they can fill it out and the phone number and best time of day to call. And it automatically comes back to me. And I think, okay, here we go. I got to call this person and I'm going to get reamed about how bad of a job we did. And it's always, oh no, I just want to tell you guys for doing such a great job. I love it. I love this person. I love this person. And I'm always like, well, why are we having this conversation? Why aren't you still a customer? What could we have done better? But still, it's a great learning opportunity. That's just another example of something we're doing from a reactive standpoint. Okay. And then eventually reactive, this is Donald Miller-esque. We did it before Donald Miller. We just didn't do it very efficiently until we came across Donald Miller stuff is how do you drop these people who are no longer clients into a drip campaign? By drip campaign, they're starting to receive emails so that we could win them back over, right? So we're going to start marketing in an automated way to our customer that's already left. Now, I got to pause here and just say, if you're a small personal training studio and you have 23 customers, like, how's that valuable? The 3 customers that left, I know who they are. I could write them an email every day if I want. I'm telling you, as you grow, you're going to want to automate this because you're going to have so many numbers. There's so much power in numbers. Like, it's depressing that thousands of people have quit Discover Strength over the years. It's also incredibly encouraging because it's thousands of people that we could market to and they could come back into Discover Strength. And of course, that will happen and that's incredibly effective.
Such powerful words. And I think one thing I just wanted to say, which I think is really, really important and very empowering, is how retention is such a force multiplier for your business, right? Because as you've always said, retention is one of the most powerful ways, focusing on retaining customers is how you're getting referrals, right? It's how you're driving, the second point of those 4 levers, right? It's driving new customers. So I often think, like, if someone feels overwhelmed and looking to think, where should they focus? This is where they focus because this is going to solve all their problems or most of their problems. This is going to help them keep the customers they have and bring new customers in the door as well. So now you got 2 minutes here. Can you just touch on that briefly?
Yeah, so I totally agree. It's not like all of these retention activities are not related to driving new business and driving referrals I don't want to say they're all the same thing, but they're interconnected. And so having a what we would call a 1 rep, 1 set, 1 client at a time approach is the best way to grow the business. And that's the best way to grow the business. And it's also the best way to retain a client. 1 rep, 1 set, 1 client. And I've probably said this on your podcast before, but I can remember in the early years, so 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, training clients, on a Thursday evening, on a Sunday morning, and I got 7,000 other things going on. And I'm stressed about this, and I have a issue with a business partner here, and I'm worried about some financial issue here. And I'm so incredibly stressed. I'm like, how am I going to train these next 9 clients in a row when I'm so stressed? All I want to do is go deal with all those problems, not train these clients. And then I would always come back to, this is me talking myself through it. No, all of those problems are only going to be solved by me retaining these clients, giving them great experiences so we get more clients and we grow the business, right? So most of our business problems are actually revenue problems, right? If you have enough revenue, if you have enough profit, most of your other problems go away pretty quickly. And so I would always say, all right, what I'm going to focus on is just the rep in front of me, the set in front of me, the client in front of me. And if I do that, the rest of our problems are going to go away. And of course, Lawrence, like every business, we still have a heck of a lot of problems. But I love solving those problems now when we have a heck of a lot more revenue and a heck of a lot more profit. Because if you can use money to solve the problem, you don't actually have a problem. You have a money problem, right? And so if you have the money to do it, the problem goes away.
Great stuff. And just on the software you use and the tools for MPS, it's Listen 360, right? Which integrates with MindBody.
Yep. Listen 360 for
Yep.
NPS. We use MindBody, and then we use HubSpot for like these automated email campaigns and drip campaigns. And HubSpot like tracks all of our emails. So, every email we send to a customer, every email they send to us, how many times they've opened an email and haven't taken action or have taken action, whatever it is.
Yeah. And then obviously, there's lots of tools out there, members or consumers of this don't have to necessarily use those tools. But it's good to know that those tools are what you use to do what you do. Luke, this was amazing. This was incredible. I really appreciate you taking the time. Any parting thoughts and best ways to contact you if people want to ask you any question?
Yeah, people can just shoot me an email at luke@discoverstrength.com. I would also include members to attend the happy hours that you do, because I think I have like 95% attendance at those. And it's a great time to just chat and learn from each other as well and share some ideas. So that's a great way to connect as well.
Awesome. Are you coming this evening? Are you free?
Yeah, I'm going to come, but I'm going to be just a teeny bit late because I got a call with a guy in Australia, and then I'll jump on right after that.
Looking forward to it. I really appreciate it. I look forward to them every month. Cool, Luke. Well, thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look forward to it.
Take care. Hey, it's Lawrence again. Before you go, I have something special for those looking to accelerate their hit business. Would you like to know how to generate a flood of leads for free? Download our exclusive Build a Referral Machine playbook. It's a concise guide packed with proven strategies from Luke Carlson, CEO of Discover Strength, a fast-growing hit franchise. Clients in our hit business membership using these referral tactics have added 20 to 40 new clients, transforming their businesses dramatically. In this playbook, you'll uncover 4 dynamic referral tactics that you can implement right now to drive leads. Plus, when you download the guide, you'll gain access to invaluable resources to expand your business, like ready-to-use sales presentations, a guide for attracting top-notch trainers, a checklist for nailing your sales process, and so much more. And there's a bonus. Subscribe today to ensure you don't miss out on exclusive opportunities like live group calls with hit experts. Plus, you have the chance to contribute questions for our interactive Q&A blog posts and podcasts, where we directly address your queries with industry experts. These special events are scheduled periodically, and as a subscriber, you'll be the first to know when they happen. Just visit highintensitybusiness.com/ref. That's REF, short for referrals. highintensitybusiness.com/ref, or click the link available where you're watching or listening to this. Drop in your email, and you'll get instant access to all these resources today.